tales of excessive scrubbing and potentially cursed objects you find in a forest? Well, I think you're going to love this story of the random old cast iron pot that I dug out of the ground on my property. As you can see, it's really far from the house, and it was buried in a really strange spot near the ravine. And my Instagram followers and I kind of deduced that it was probably cursed, but I couldn't let a challenge like this go unanswered, so I've left this pot sitting here for a while after I dug it up from right there. Just the very bottom of it was poking out. And, I decided it was time to take it home and fix it up. After all, what is the worst that could happen? As you can see, this cast iron is in super rough shape. I have no illusions that it's gonna turn out to be something really nice and super usable. I'm just curious to see how far I can get with it and whether it's salvageable for any purpose at all. So let's find out. Basically, I started by giving it a good scrub. I couldn't find my stainless steel scrubber anywhere, so just started with this basic plastic brush and did an initial pass with just water. It was looking better already, but I'd heard that using distilled vinegar and water at a 1-to-1 ratio was the way to go, so I filled up my sink hoping this wouldn't mess it up too much and let it sit for 30 minutes initially to see where it got me. So at this point, I found my stainless steel scrubber and started scrubbing. Normally you don't want to be this aggressive with cast iron, but at this point, I just needed to get the rust deposits off, and there's no seasoning to be saved, so it doesn't really matter if you're really scrubbing hard. You can see I was pulling like huge chunks of iron off this. And rust, and it's pretty satisfying, not gonna lie. After first pass, it was definitely looking better. Still significantly pitted, right? We're not going to save it, but it is starting to look better, and so I left it to soak again. At this point, I am committing the cardinal sin of scrubbing it with soapy water, but the reason you don't use water or soap with cast iron is to preserve the seasoning. We use cast iron almost exclusively for cooking, and it's very easy to clean and manage without soap and water for the most part, but you do it to save the seasoning, and because this doesn't have any kind of protective layer on it, we're really trying to get it down to the very base cast iron, soap and water, totally fine. At this point, it is actually looking significantly better, and I have cleaned it up so much that I actually discovered a logo on the bottom. At first, I thought there wasn't a logo, or it was just so obscured that it was gone forever, but in fact, I did find a logo. It's quite hard to see here. I tried to show you, but what ended up, I found like this little smile kind of line that I thought was a scratch initially. I'll try to show it to you, but it's really hard to see. And then I also found some letters, and I ended up figuring out that this is a favorite Piquia ware cast iron, which is a company that ran from the 1880s to 1958, which, you know, cool little bit of local-ish history. It's from Ohio, but that also means that it's very youngest. Here's the logo here. At the very youngest, this cast iron is 64 years old. So even if I can't restore it fully, it is definitely a cool little bit of history for sure. At this point, I decide I've done about all I can, so I am going to season it. And seasoning it is basically slathering cast iron in oil and baking it. So I oiled it, and then I am going to flip it upside down and put it in the oven to bake for about an hour. I actually took it out twice and re-oiled it throughout that hour just to give it as many layers as possible. That starts to fill in some of the pits and also just make it stronger, less sticky, more durable. And you know, at the end, it ended up turning out pretty good. It is deeply, deeply pitted. Like, it is not a nice piece of cast iron, but it seasoned up pretty well, and I'll continue to season it as I, you know, figure out how to use it. It's clearly more of a antique piece than a functional piece, but I'm thinking that, you know, by dropping some bread in here in parchment paper, it would actually be a really nice kind of baking pot for bread. So yeah, I mean, I tested it out here on an egg. Spoiler alert, even with a lot of oil, it did not go well. Uneven cast iron just is a sticky mess, but like I said, it is still, by all definitions, an elder, a piece of history, and so I will keep it and display it and hope that it doesn't curse me.